But waiting for us to go live, yes. You know I'm here to jive, yes. I don't care about that shit. I'm just trying to make rap, bitch. Sometimes you won't see this. Sometimes you can be this. Testing the volume. But waiting for us to go live, yes. We are good for the volume, but the delay is quite crazy. So, today, welcome, my fasting journey testimony. So, Mystar back with another video, here to talk to you guys about how to become a Mystar of your day-to-day things on a day-to-day basis, your mind, your body, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe we'd just be talking a little bit of smack, because sometimes I tend to go on little Gemini tangents if you already know me from my past videos. Today, definitely got the volume on deck. The volume is quite booming, so excuse if I am piercing your ears with my voice. But anyways, today I wanted to talk about my fasting journey. Okay, so if you haven't tried fasting before, this will be a good introduction to the benefits of fasting. Or if you've never heard of the benefits of fasting in the past, or if you're just curious about fasting in general, I will say as well, I'm not no expert when it comes to the ins and outs of the details of fasting per se, but I'm an expert when it comes to my experience and my ability to be able to, excuse the vacuuming in the background, guys. Don't know why, but things tend to, actually, no, I do know why. That's also another video that would be nice to be made. When it comes to the certain situations in your life, you guys will probably notice that things tend to get in the way of when you are about to do something that you know is actually beneficial for your purpose, for the greater good, for whatever the case may be. These are resistances. These are blockages, all right? So anytime you meet resistance, that's not something that you should give into, because these are blockages, these are energies that are actually trying to stop you from doing whatever the task is at hand. So you always need to stay on task, right? And don't let any of these blockages actually overcome you or get in your way. Because if you do let those blockages get in your way, well, then there's no saying that you will actually get that task done in the future. So it's always important to push past the distractions. Always push past the distractions when you can. Obviously, I know that there's some certain situations where you have certain distractions that you can't really necessarily push past. Maybe you've got a child. That's a certain distraction that you can't push past. You can't ignore the fact that your child has needs. You can't ignore the fact that you have a child. You know what I mean? So those are certain distractions that you can't push past. But you need to always remember, especially when you put yourself into a certain space, like, I'm determined, I want to carry this certain thing out, okay? And then if you meet any resistance or any blockages, always push past that shit as where you can, because that is a blockage that is trying to stop you from actually doing that. And it's not like, don't get all spooked out and think, oh my gosh, something's out there trying to get me, it's trying to stop me from doing blah 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 XYZ. No, this is a tool that you can utilize to propel yourself forward, to push past any blockage. And in actuality, it's more of an unconscious thing. It's like, let's say if this was a spirit that actually like existed, which it is. Everything has some aspect of consciousness backed behind it. That's how we create. We create through our conscious awareness. So anything that you're able to be consciously aware of has been created by someone's conscious awareness in the first place. So when you're conscious of these certain things, you need to be aware that, you know, they have a certain consciousness back behind them. And even though that object to you, it may be just a rock. So you may think, oh yes, this doesn't have a consciousness, right? But let's say if the rock were to hit you and stop you, now you've got a concussion. So you can't actually do the YouTube video that you wanted to do because that rock hit you in the head, right? I would argue that that's backed and supported by a spirit. but that spirit is not actively trying to throw that rock at you per se. And this is where people get spooked out. It's more so, let's say in the spirit's reality, that spirit will be sitting there and thinking, oh, well, in actuality, this rock is in the way of my door per se. And so when you moved the rock over that direction, that spirit turned around and was like, oh no, this is in the way of my door. I need to open my door. And once it opens its door, that's when the rock came and hit you in the head. So it wasn't that the spirit was actively trying to hit you in the head with a rock or to stop you from doing what you wanted to do, because you're going to do what you wanted to do anyway. And at the end of the day, you just like how we live in our reality, spirits don't be looking around actively trying to find someone to stop or to hate on, unless they're hater spirits. You know what I mean? That's a thing in this reality too. So you need to understand that that's a thing. When it's a thing here, it's a thing everywhere, like otherwise it wouldn't be a thing here. So everything has to be a thing in order for it to be existent in this reality. But that's besides the point. That's a little bit of a tangent, but I just wanted to put that there in case anyone would take that gem and utilize it in their own journey. So when it comes to fasting, an introduction to my fasting journey, as a preface as well, I want to always say it's always to do with your mentality. I always say this in all my videos, but I need to drill this into everyone, because I don't want people to think that, Mystar on YouTube tried this fasting technique, so if I try this fasting technique, then I'm going to achieve the exact same results. You may not get the exact same results. In fact, you may not even get the same results at all. So you need to be aware that everything comes from your mental realm. So you may do the same thing as me, but your mentality behind what you're doing would be the defining factor of what makes it different or the same or better or worse or whatever the case may be in terms of your outcome. So when it comes to my fasting journey, I started fasting because I was this is not technically fasting. Mine was more of an unconscious thing because I was not in a great place emotionally and mentally. So my aspect of fasting was actually starving myself. Okay, so a little bit personal there, but I just want to give a preface as well to really drive the point home of what I'm trying to make. So I was starving myself, and I was not allowing myself to eat at certain points in the day due to either anxiety, worries about money, whatever the case may be. There was always some kind of worry or anxiety backed behind why I initially started fasting. So this was the toxic way of fasting, right? And this led me to being more unhealthy, like more negative mind state in general, because it just reinforced my negative mindset because I was already in that mental state. So when I went to go eat food, I'm eating within that mental state as well. So I ended up looking like I was dead. I ended up acting in ways that weren't the same as how I would normally act. And this is examples of me being used as a vessel. But, a lot of people may just chalk it up and say, oh, well, you're just in a bad place mentally. But I would argue that those things are one and the same. They're intertwined. Just like you are in a bad place mentally, you're also being used as a vessel in that moment by another spirit to experience what they want to experience. Because to you, you don't want to experience it. So why would you experience it? Obviously, there's some kind of energy, some kind of force, conscious awareness that's backing and supporting the want for that experience. And this is what I'm talking about. This is when spirits take you and use you for a motherfucking ride, okay? So when it comes to that circumstance for me, I ended up looking dead. My cheeks were hollowed in. I didn't look alive. My skin looked dry and dull. All kinds of things. And this led me to being really depressed, really down, feeling lost, so on and so forth. But I was already in that mental state to begin with. So when it comes to, as well, later on down the line, because this was also during the time when I was really trying my best to get better, because obviously when you hit rock bottom, you have that kind of push drive to actually pull yourself back out of that rock bottom circumstance. And so this was that for me. I had hit rock bottom, and I had looked into the mirror, and I'd seen myself as like a husk of what I used to be. So this became like my goal, my mission, to try and figure out what went wrong. Where did I go wrong in terms of this? Where did I change trajectory? Because I had seemed to be on a good path. I'd seemed to be doing okay. I was struggling with eating prior, but not to this magnitude. So I went down the rabbit hole. No, I went down all of that kind of trains of thought of asking myself, okay, well, how did I get here? What led me to this point? And so on and so forth. Overall, my mentality was that of wanting to die. Let's just put it plainly and bluntly, okay? So in my mentality, I didn't appreciate life. I didn't appreciate waking up every day. I didn't appreciate the circumstances and the situations that were handed to me, okay, through life and people, places, and things. And this led me to have, my body became to look underappreciated. My body began to look under nurtured and undernourished, right? Or malnourished, as they would say. So these are all the signs of my mentality bending into my reality first. So this led to me realizing as well, eventually as time went on, and I changed my mentality gradually over time, which wasn't easy, I tried so many different things. I tried medications. I tried, and when I say medication, sorry, let me rephrase that. It was more natural medication. So I was trying like probiotics. I was trying, what is it else? I tried ashwagandha, this drink called Moody. If you're from New Zealand, you probably heard of Moody. It's pretty popular. So I tried this drink called Moody. That was one of the big things that actually helped me. Completely calmed and centered my nervous system or my nervous reaction across my body in an instant. No joke. Within 10 minutes of me drinking the Moody drink, I had completely been calmed. But anyways, this is not a freaking promotion for Moody. But, if you guys want to check it out, go ahead, check it out. Helped me in the past. But also, this was due to the fact as well that I'd put so much energy, work, and time, right? We all know if you put in effort to something, you're going to get effort back. If you put in kindness to something, you're going to get kindness back, okay? So I put the effort in over time by getting probiotics, by going out, by going for lots of walks, by actively looking online, like any kind of avenue, going to the shops and looking for different things, talking to the people at the shops, the naturopath ladies. And they obviously helped, but overall, if I'm looking at it from an equilibrium perspective, the fact is that I put in all that energy work. So all that effort had to come back and be repaid in some kind of way, shape, or form. And that came for me in the form of a Moody drink. So this is to say to everyone that it is not the drink, it is not the food that is the massive changer or the director. It is your mentality and the energy work you put in based on your mentality. And then that develops into whatever you collect and whatever you go out and reach for into the external world. That will be the thing that will help you. And you can say that this isn't true, but explain to me why two people can try the exact same product and this product can be guaranteed to help everyone, but yet that other person doesn't get the same benefit from it. And they may have the exact same problem. They may have the exact same symptoms for their problem, and so on and so forth. The reason is because of what I'm explaining right now. So you can take with that what you want or leave it. At the end of the day, it's not my choice or my decision to, teach you or make you to know something. At the end of the day, it's you. You are the director of your life. You are the spiritual guru of your own life, bitch. Okay? So the more you start to realize that, the more you'll be able to make better decisions for yourself because you are the spiritual guru. Okay? So when it comes to after the Moody drink, this is when I started to notice myself get a little bit more healthier. But overall, it wasn't much of a massive difference until my mentality started to fully change. And this takes sometimes weeks, sometimes months, sometimes days of constant shadow internal work, okay? Working on myself, questioning myself, why do I hate life? Okay, how can I make this better for myself? How can I make myself not hate life? Trying many different things, discovering the fact that I even had the ability to create my reality the way that I wanted to. This was one of the biggest things for me, because, you know, when you start to realize that if you just change your state of being, if you just feel how you want to feel, like I would feel sad a lot, you know, I'd feel depressed a lot. Starting to realize and come to the conclusion that I had the strength and I had the power to actually feel the way I wanted to feel, regardless of what the external showed me. I started to show myself that, you know, gradually, day by day, week by week, however long it took. It was like, oh, okay, I can actually make a difference in my life without like having to kind of lift like 20 tons of depression on my shoulders, kind of thing, you know, because instead of lifting the 20 tons of depression on your shoulders, you're lifting 20 tons of happiness that you actually want to experience. And the more you, like, yeah, at the start it's hard as fuck, because you're like you may try and produce like this state of being of happiness, and you literally start to think to yourself like, hold on, I'm not really getting much, because I'm like, first of all, you're probably not very adept at being able to change your state of being like that. But it takes practice. It takes time to fight off thoughts and feelings, to change your state of being, to make yourself feel happy. But you already know how to feel happy, so you already know how to do it. So that's not the hard part. The hard part is doing it. You know what I mean? So it's really just a matter of, are you going to take the effort to actually make yourself happy? Okay, are you going to take the effort to feel happy in that moment? Or are you just going to succumb and cave and fold into that state of being sad, being depressed, feeling heavy? Like, the choice is yours at the end of the day. So when it comes to over time, I started to produce my happiness. I started to feel happy. I started to feel righteous, even in moments where I was like, I'm unsure. I don't know if I'm even right in this situation. But just to clear my anxiety, and it didn't matter at the end of the day. I didn't act on these things. I want to preface this too. I didn't just go out and think to myself, oh, you know, I'm right about this, so this means that I need to argue and sit here and go back and forth and bicker with this person. No, it wasn't none of that energy. It wasn't none of that shit, okay? So if you're out here doing any of that shit where you're like, oh, I'm definitely right about this, or I'm definitely happy, so then this means that I need to go out and do X, Y, and Z to show that I'm happy. Like, that's not necessarily the right thing to do, but it's not necessarily the wrong thing to do. You know, always see things as a case-to-case basis or equilibrium. But, you know, it's about, really for me, it was about, okay, well, I know that I'm right about this thing, and I'm not going to say anything, because I know that in order for me myself to feel truly righteous or to feel truly happy, I really just need to experience it and be it, rather than feeling like I need to externalize and express that happiness or that righteousness, and so on and so forth. So not only did this help me to feel more stable, more secure, more righteous, more happy about my decisions, right? This also stopped me from experiencing a whole bunch of negative arguments that I didn't even have to go through, because I wasn't trying to externalize and push out my righteousness, or I wasn't trying to externalize and push out my happiness. I was internalizing it. I was trying to push it out into my internal realm, right? Which led to it pushing out into the external realm as well. So all of this played a part in why I actually ended up developing a more healthier way of fasting for myself, because I was slowly starting to try and make myself eat more, because in my mind I thought, if I eat more, pardon me guys, if I eat more, then I'll be able to get to a more healthy weight, and then I might be more healthier mentally and physically. Sad to say, that wasn't the case, because even though I was constantly eating more on a day-to-day basis, it didn't matter how much I ate. I still seem to stay at the same weight, give or take 1 or 2 kgs. So I was constantly eating. I was constantly trying new diets. Like when I say trying new diets, I don't mean trying like healthy diets. I mean, I was constantly trying to add more unhealthier foods because I thought, oh, well, you know, any weight is good enough, because at the end of the day, I was looking in the mirror at a freaking skeleton. So, you know, I thought to myself, like, anything's better than looking like a skeleton type of thing. But it didn't seem to work no matter what. It did not seem to work. I was really barely gaining weight at all. I was barely even being able to get to a healthier weight, and it just didn't seem to make any difference. So later on, fast forward about like half a year, maybe a little bit longer yet later, or maybe not even, maybe even like just 3 months. Fast forward, and I had done a few things actually. I had completely shifted my mentality 180 degrees. I'd gone from being completely depressed, hating waking up every single day. I literally dreaded it back in the past. Like when I would wake up, it would be like, oh no, not again. Not again, love, not a little life. Not a little life. What the fuck? That just came out. Anyways, not again. It was basically my mentality. And then, you know, about 3 months later, after pushing and doing all the work that I had told you, and a few other things, like, don't get me wrong, there was quite a few different practices that I helped myself. Meditation was one of my massive helpers, because without meditation, I wouldn't be able to be aware of the thoughts and feelings that I needed to fight off or push out in certain points in time, right? Because meditation gave me the clarity, the clairvoyance. That's what meditation gives you. It's clairvoyance. If you want to check out my other video, I'm pretty sure it's called The Importance of Meditation, or just meditation. Either way, it has meditation in the title, so you'll be able to find it on my channel. When you meditate, it gives you a sense of clairvoyance. You carry a clairvoyant cloud, and clairvoyance is just representation of clarity. So you're able to see things clearer. You're able to receive the external world in a clearer aspect, all right? You're able to clearly know what is going on around you and inside of you. So this was a massive help too, as well as what I was saying before with the thoughts and the feelings. So when it came to 3, 4, 5 months later, I was still eating roughly the same amount. I did start to eat like more regularly. So before, I was eating lunch and dinner, and then I started to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when I was eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I didn't really seem to notice that much of a difference. So, and then I also noticed as well, I tended to be forcing myself to eat breakfast a lot of the time, because I wouldn't wake up hungry a lot of the time. So eventually, I can't remember what point this was, I started to cut out breakfast, whether it was intentionally or non-intentionally. I think at first it was not intentional. I just kind of just not really focused on breakfast or eating too early in the day. But over time, it started to become more intentional. And as I started to gain weight, I noticed that I wasn't actually eating much more than I had been eating prior, right? I had not been eating much more. So my eating patterns were actually pretty similar. I won't even lie. And a lot of the difference was my mentality, the way I was thinking, the way I was feeling, the way I was going about my life. This was what shifted my weight. And let's be real, I'm gonna be straight up. I'm still skinny, you know, but I ain't no skeleton no more. Like, look at me. You can at least see a little bit of a little bit of chub in my skin. So this is just a proof and a testament to the fact that your mentality bends into your reality and creates your experiences, whether that's food, situations, people, places, or things, love. So you need to be aware of this. And when you want to change whatever it is, whether it's your weight, whether it's your eating habits, you know, because I didn't actually stop or change much of my eating habits in general. I would say I pretty much eat around the same amount. If anything, some days I eat less than I used to, and I am actually about 10 kgs more than I was, maybe less. I'm about 7 or 8 to 10 kgs more than I was prior. And not only that, my weight distribution is completely different. So instead of looking like a skeleton like this, my weight distribution in my face, I look more plump. If you were to see my body, you would see that I'm quite slim still. Let me just show. This baggy ass shirt, you can't even see. But yeah, you can see that I'm quite slim. Like, I'm still very, very slim as a person. It's not like my weight really fluctuated or changed much. It's not like I gained massive weight, but you can obviously tell in my face, like, if you weren't seeing my body, you would think that I've got a little bit of weight on me. You'd think that I got a decent amount of weight on me here. Okay, so in saying that, this was my introduction to fasting unconsciously, because now I was in a healthier mind state. I was gaining weight somehow. Well, obviously you guys know how. I'm explaining it. I was gaining weight on a day-to-day basis, and on top of that, I started to look at it and I was like, oh, well, actually my eating habits could be considered a form of fasting, because I barely ate breakfast. Some days I would even skip lunch. And I started to notice that, oh, well, this is more like kind of a natural, unconscious way of fasting. And then I started to slowly become introduced to other people online who fasted. And this began to resonate with me, because now I was like, okay, well, if they're willing to fast actively, consciously, and I fast naturally, unconsciously, then what would be the harm in trying to do so on a conscious level? So then I began to fast a couple times a week, 24-hour fasts. I think at one point I even did a little bit longer than a 24-hour fast. And honestly, you'll be surprised how much people know. If you fasted, you already know this. You'd be surprised how much of your eating habits are actually just based on your desires, your animalistic desires, rather than you actually needing some form of sustenance or some form of energy. And a lot of people don't want to hear this. They will just be like, no, I need this. I need the energy, because if I don't eat, then I feel like grumpy. Those are all representations of addiction. So you need to remember this. When you are actually have a healthy relationship to food, it doesn't actually have any effect on your emotional or mental state. The only effect that it will generally have is on your physical state of being. So you will start to feel tired. You will start to feel lethargic. But if you are feeling angry, frustrated, emotional, those are not normal symptoms of not eating or being hungry. Those are actually symptoms of the fact that you are addicted to food. And a lot of people don't want to hear this, but I'm here to tell you the tea, love. It's Mystar, okay? I'm not telling you how to be semi-Mystar, bitch. We're teaching you how to become a Mystar, okay? So if you want to Mystar that shit, you need to Mystar that shit, okay? So yeah, when it came to all of these kind of situations, these were obviously showing me how my relationship to food was heavily based around addictions, was heavily based around toxic ideals and mentalities and actions. And this just led me to feeling drowsy, tired. But ever since I'd started fasting, and like, I wouldn't even sit here and say it's the fasting that did the thing. Because at the end of the day, you may fast and you may experience something different. So I'm not going to blanket term. But I will say this, it's very beneficial for the most part. And for most people, I think it would be beneficial. So, as well, when it comes to your mentality, you have to be in the right mental space. You can't be just fasting because you've got insecurity issues. Honey, you're fasting, if anything, the fact that you have insecurity issues, you're going to start gaining weight. I can almost guarantee you're most likely going to start gaining weight because you're feeling insecure, and anything you do after that, the action, that's the ritual and spell. So the witchcraft is the insecurity, the way you feel insecure and think insecurely. The ritual and spell, that's everything you do after that. So whether it's fasting or whether it's binge eating, it doesn't matter. You're going to gain weight because you're insecure about your weight. Or if you're insecure about the fact that you're skinny, you're going to constantly get skinnier and skinnier because you're insecure about your skinniness and you're acting according to that. So this is why it's always important to be aware of what you're actually acting on when it comes to your thoughts and your feelings, because that will determine your outcome. It will. I promise ya. I promise ya, love. I promise. So when it came to up to, what is it called? When it came to now, like up until this point in time, I've actually fasted less, and I still feel just as healthy because my eating habits have developed into a more natural state. So instead of just actively telling myself I'm going to fast today or blah, 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 I go on a more go with the flow basis. So if I don't feel hungry, I'm a fast that day. You know what I mean? Like that kind of energy. Or if I feel like eating a blah, 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 I'm gonna eat that, you know? So like for me, it's developed more into intuitive eating now, but that's because I know the mental space that I'm in would develop into the right actions for me to eat the right kind of things. And if I don't eat the right kind of things, I know that's an opportunity for me to look back and know, okay, this is somewhere I can actually develop a better sense or a stronger sense of mentality in order to stop myself from actually eating the wrong thing in the future or eating too much of something. And all of these things will develop into my experiences. So now it's more developed into the unconscious area. I don't have to actively tell myself, oh, I'm going to fast today. Oh, I'm going to blah, blah, blah today. It just kind of begins to unfold due to a few different factors for me. Okay. And then also, I also want to do this as a disclaimer, which I don't know, maybe I should have put that at the start of the video. But, you know, if you watch till this part of the video, you get the disclaimer. As a disclaimer as well, one of the biggest things that I did, aside from fasting, was actually cutting out yeast. And when I cut out yeast, this actually stopped me a big, massive heap from feeling a lot of different symptoms that I had felt in the past, which was lethargy, constantly feeling lethargic, feeling lackluster, feeling very, very dull emotionally, feeling my blood flow wasn't in the right place. So I would have hot and cold flashes. I would get blackouts occasionally. I would feel really frustrated emotionally. I would feel really emotional in general. And in the past, I just thought this was just normal experiences that everyone goes through. But when I actually cut out yeast, which was like a while after I'd started fasting positively in the future, this actually, I didn't even notice anything different really, actually. I'm gonna be real. I did not notice anything different from cutting out yeast, except for that I seemed to have more energy. I seemed to be less emotional and less frustrated. But other than that, I didn't really notice too much of a difference. But I remember one time again in the future, I thought to myself, you know what? I've cut out yeast for X, Y, and Z. Let me just try and eat a little bit of yeast and see what it does to me as a tester. Because I wanted to like kind of see what I've been putting in my body for my whole life. If you know me growing up, I was a yeast freak. I used to eat like 4 pieces of bread with my dinner. And then every meal we would have bread. Sometimes the meal was bread. So, you know, like that's a lot of yeast. And then if you also know Australia, or if you're in the UK or in New Zealand, Vegemite and Marmite, that's literally concentrated yeast. So, and I love that shit. So I used to eat that quite often too. But when I had eaten the soup and it had yeast in it, within not even 5 minutes, love, it was absolutely fucked. Within not even 5 minutes, I began to black out. I began to have complete shortness of breath. I couldn't breathe properly. I began to feel so tired and lethargic. I began to feel like I was going to fall onto the ground. My body, my bones started to get weak. And these were all the symptoms that I'd felt in the past. And I just attributed it to like something to do with my body. Maybe there was something wrong with my body. Maybe it's genetics. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. No, it was literally none of that. It was 110% the yeast. And the only way I know this is because when I had it again, it gave me all the same symptoms. It all came flooding back. So for me, it was like a flashback of the past. Like, and all the symptoms that I'd tried to fight to get out of had completely came rushing back just from eating a small amount of yeast. And this was fucking terrible and made me actually come to the conclusion and realization. Shout out to Dollar to Pilot Man for putting me on to this game, because he talks about it in such clear detail about how yeast is actually the first GMO. And the reason why it's the first GMO is because it's the first instance of humans taking something that's unnatural, that's not in nature. Well, think about, like, before I say that as well, think about what's natural to humans to eat. Animals, fruit, plants, vegetables, those are natural things. There's no such thing as a yeast vegetable. There's no such thing as a yeast animal. There is no such thing as a yeast plant. There is no such thing as a yeast tree, right? So you need to freaking really let that like sink in. So this is the first instance of GMO. And if anything, it's probably one of the worst GMOs there is. But, you know, some GMOs are actually beneficial for you. So I'm not going to completely sit out here and say all GMO is bad. But yeast itself was the first instance of GMO. And the reason why is because it's not even an edible thing. It's literally something, it's dead plant material, dead fungus, dead bacterial cells. And it's used to give some form of sustenance, some form of fulfillment for your body, okay? So you need to know that this is not an everyday thing. It's not natural, and it's not healthy, and it's not normal for you to eat yeast every single day, because you're eating dead bacteria, dead plant cells, dead cells. And these are not, like, that is not a form of nourishment. It may nourish you temporarily if you are in need of some extreme form of nourishment that possibly could kill you as well. Double-edged sword type shit. But if you have it in moderation, I'm sure it'd probably be fine. But at the end of the day, for me, the benefits do not outweigh the risks. And at the end of the day, I'm not willing to put something that's completely dead within my body. At least if it came from something living, that would actually have something, some more substantial backing towards it. Like if it came from a fruit, you know, an extract of a fruit or whatever the case may be. Like syrups, you know, those kind of stuff. Those are from, you know, fruits and sugars, and, you know, even sugar itself. That's processed plant, you know. People say and argue to the death that sugar is so bad for you. But I would argue that it's actually the yeast. And actually, if anything, the sugar is just making the yeast flare up what you already have. So if you get like really bad symptoms from sugar, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything, because you may have an allergy to sugar, you may blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But this is not talking about that. If you don't have any of those things, it might actually be the yeast, and you're just feeding the yeast. Because what does yeast eat, bitch? It eats sugar. That's what it uses to sustain itself. Okay, so a lot of people say sugar is really, really bad. Actually, if you even look in the shops, a lot of the things that people say is bad is either stuff like sugar that feeds the yeast, or it's stuff that already has yeast within it. And I would argue that that's probably one of the main reasons why even they say it's bad in the first place, because they don't want to actively put it out and say yeast is bad. They just want to kind of leave you in this limbo, uncertain zone. Well, maybe it's bad, maybe it's good. Now, well, I know, but based on my experiences, that yeast is literally poison, and it is GMO, and it flares up. For everyone, it's different. It may not flare up the same symptoms for you, but it will flare you up, and it will develop into cancer. That is what cancer cells actually develop from, is yeast. It's dead plant cells. And cancer, what is cancer? It's a abnormal cell growth. That is literally what yeast is. It's dead plant cells. Like literally think about that for a second. You eat dead plant cells every single day, and then people go to the doctors and find out that they have cells, abnormal cell growth growing inside of them. That's fucking yeast. So I don't care what anyone says, yeast is cancer. No joke. Like, it literally causes cancer. It is cancer, and you will die from it. Period. So this is not a thing where I'm like, oh, and like, because I'm not the type of person to sit out here and say, what's it called? Oh, and I want to also say this as well. And when I say you will die from it too, like, this doesn't mean you're going to die from one freaking thing of yeast. But I'm saying if you constantly eat it over the span of your life, all the way up until your deathbed, like, Hans, you're most likely going to die of cancer, dementia, whatever the case may be. But it's going to be something unnatural, some kind of disease, some kind of deterioration. And it's based on the fact that you ate yeast your whole life. Period. So, but yeah, as well, I want to say this, like, I'm not the type of person to even say shit like this, because I don't even give a fuck like that about health. And at the end of the day, you already heard me in the start of the video. Everything that you do mentally bends into your physical, right? So when it comes to you actually having the right mentality, it'll bend into you experiencing and doing the right kind of actions for you to eat the right kind of foods, and then for you to actually be healthy. So whether that's you cutting out yeast or not, which it will be, I can guarantee, once you actually get a healthier mindset, you will be eating less yeast, whether you consciously do it or not. And also, as well, if you be eating yeast now, your mind is not as healthy as you think it is. You may think you're pretty healthy, but I'm telling you right now, if you eat yeast, your mind is not as healthy as you think it is. So, like, you can take with that what you want. But at the end of the day, just pay attention to your circumstances. Pay attention to, like, your weight gain. It's usually when you be eating the most yeast. It's usually when you be eating or feeding your child the yeast. That's when he starts to act up. All kinds of shit. So, don't take my word for it. At the end of the day, do your own research. Do the test. Cut it out for a little bit. Don't cut it out for a little bit. Do whatever the heck you need to do in order for yourself to develop the right research for your body and what's right for you and your body. But this is me and my testimony for anyone out there who may actually want to learn from this and actually wants to utilize some beneficial shit that's not just based in doctors and nutritionist type shit, because even nutritionists, they be putting nutritional yeast in their shit. Oh, no. That ain't nutritious to me, love. That ain't nutritious. That's malnourishment right there. That's malnourishment. I'm cool and all that. I'm all goods. You can keep your malnourished yeast and keep your malnourished self and your cancer growth to yourself. And no judgment to you if you eat yeast. At the end of the day, like I say, it's all about your mentality anyway. So I don't even look at it like, oh, you eat yeast because X, Y, and Z. I really just look at it like you're in a bad mental space, so you lead to circumstance of you eating yeast. That's it. That's all. That's all I really see it like. And nobody can even convince me otherwise, because I've seen so many examples. I've seen life show me so many examples since I cut off yeast. Like, the amount of shit that life showed me, it's like a joke. And yeah, so it's one of those things, like, you can't tell me anything, honey. So yeah, when it comes to the circumstance of fasting and all that kind of shit, this is a little bit of a testimony from me to help you. If you want to delve into fasting, if you want to actually learn more about it, then you can actually start to try and test the waters for yourself. And then you'll be able to see the benefits, the downfalls, the uphill battles, the downhill struggles, or whatever the heck. And then you'll be able to develop a more healthier relationship with your food. So yeah, when it comes to all of those kind of stuff, just remember, you be eating out of your desires a lot more than you think. And when you think that you're eating out of necessity, but really think about what is your main reason for eating even every day. Like when you wake up, what is your main driving force of why you even eat certain things? A lot of the time it's because you crave something, you desire something. You know what I mean? So like that already shows you you're in a template of eating from your desires. But what's it called? Dollar to Parliament has a great video if you want to check out and you want to learn more techniques on how to get out of the eating from your desires constantly space. He has fruit and vegetables that you can eat in order for chakra work, I'm pretty sure, or chakra work, fruits and vegetables. Just those are the keywords that are in the title. So if you search up on Dollar to Parliament's channel, freaking greatest YouTuber, everything, entertainer, greatest of all time. Search him up on YouTube, chakra work, fruits and vegetables you can use, and he will actually tell you the different chakras that will correlate to the different foods and little kind of techniques that you can do, or what the purpose of that chakra is for you if you're eating from that food. And this will lead you into eating more out of necessity and to actually fulfill and nourish your body. Because what are you doing? You're fulfilling and nourishing your chakra. Okay. So the more you fulfill and nourish your chakras, then you'll be able to, because that starts with the mind, right? You're fulfilling your mind, your chakras. All right. So then you'll be able to develop experiences of you fulfilling and nourishing your body. Because what does everything do, love? It bends in from the mental to the physical. Hey, bends into the mental from the physical. Oh, no, other way. Bends in from the mental to the physical. Hey, bends into the mental. Bends in from the mental to the physical. Hey, bends in from the mental to the physical. Yay, bends in from the mental to the physical. Hey, bends in from the mental to the physical. Yay. Every single day, you know that we say that it bends in from the mental to the physical, yay. I'm just trying to be aware of the right things. I don't really care if you don't think that I can sing, cause I'm just blingin'. Bitch, I don't need no bling. Bitch, I'm just trying to ring. Bends in from the mental to the physical. Yay. Bends in from the mental to the physical. Hey. Bends in from the mental to the physical. Yay. Sorry, I got a little bit carried away. But that is all for the video today, guys. Is anyone in the comments that has any input or any opposition, or maybe you have like some certain argument or something? Like, the reason why I even brought this up, it made me think of Mooney Mercury's video. Shout out to Mooney Mercury baby on YouTube. He does really awesome podcasts, brings really great perspectives. If you want to check out some more interesting spiritual perspectives from Mooney Mercury, he is on YouTube. But yeah, he always leaves the floor open. Or I don't know if he always does, but he usually leaves the floor open for people to jump up and do a debate or go against what he was saying. So I'll leave it open for anybody who wants to go against what I'm saying. Okay, so we shall wait probably a couple minutes. Yeah, I just checked it out. I don't even think we have anybody in the live. So it's unlikely that we're going to get anybody going against this. But regardless, if you want to go against this and you have an argument against what I'm saying at this current video in point in time, then the comments is open for you to do so as you please. And I will come back to check the comments. I have notifications on, so I'll be able to see if you comment, and I'll be able to reply and maybe make a video in the future if it needs be. But I already know there's not really going to be much you can say against what I'm saying, because it's facts. It's straight facts. And I've pretty much covered, if not covered, every single area, and there's really no room, there's no space for really argument. But you know, I might be wrong, and I'd love to find out if I was actually wrong, because you know what, that would be fun, that would be interesting, that would be a little bit different, a little bit spicy. Okay, but you know, we'll see. All right, peace. I hope you have a great time wherever you are, love, in the world. Peace.